Hi, welcome back to Down the Shed. I'm not sure if that's a bit cloudy. It's been cold in here and I didn't take the camera indoors last night. Got the phone recording what's going on here. So hopefully you'll get a decent view anyway. So this is the HU-078 adjustable voltage regulator power supply. So we have a bag of bits. We have a load of acrylic casing, hardware, an LED display module, and a bag of bits. Lots of bits. So the first thing we need to find, which I believe will be these, is the 4148 diode. Oh, I can't really crack on them, but that's only two. Just looking through all this pile of stuff. A bit more hardware in here, so there's a bit of shrink tube, a couple of crop clips. That's a potentiometer looking dude. Capacitors, power, capacitor. So we're looking for 4 diodes, that's one. I think that's Schottky, I'm not sure. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we definitely, the glass ones I thought they were. I think they're Schottky's anyway. I thought they were the 4148s. We've used them in something else recently. An LED, 2 more resistors. So we've got 4 resistors, another capacitor. What's that? There's a washer. I think that's a MOSFET. So anyway, it's a bit of wire for the crop leads, I guess. I know the first instruction is those two, what have I just done with them? There they are, 4148s. Remember the black band on the diode goes with the white band on the silk screen. Right, so the 4148 D1 up here. Which other one is over here? D2. R2 D2. I had a remote control R2D2 as a kid once, one Christmas. I wish I still had that. I'd be worth a pretty packet now. It was great. Right, so that's those two on board. We'll blue tack those down. Got a bunch of new supplies on the way, solder, snips, tweezers, all sorts of lovely things. Soldering tips. Do some new soldering iron tips, another roll of solder, small thin stuff that I like. Got some really big pads on these to make use of them. This higher temperature setting's working much better with the solder as well. I'm on 375. Right, that's 4148's on. And double checks the matching after he's soldered. Right, next it wants us to do the 240 ohm and 1k resistors. So let's have a look what we got. R1 is a 240, R2 is a 1k. I've got another one of these little component testers that does capacitance as well. Oh, we don't need it because they've kindly labelled these for us, 1K. So R2 is the 1K, that's over here. There we go, R1. We'll keep those two just in case they sneak something on us later. You do sometimes get a spare, not always. That's R1. Oh, I can't wait for my new snips. Right, so that's our first two diodes and our two resistors on board. So next it would like us to go 1N4007 diode, pay attention to positive and negative poles. Shows us 4 but it only tells us 1. So that's 4 basically. So that's these little buggers. Again, pay attention to the silk screen and the grey band on the diodes. So for diodes like this is basically your bridge rectifier. It's a pretty safe guess, 4 diodes bridge rectifier. Since we're dealing with mains voltage as well. So do remember that, you don't want to be pissing around with this when it's plugged in and switched on. If you've got any fault finding, make sure it's turned off and discharged. I certainly won't be. If it don't work, it don't work. Let's just say that much. So we want to get those plugged on. I do favour blue tack, unless you've got a whole row of things and then tape maybe, but right, I might have to solder and snip here. Right, so that's the bridge rectifier. Any blue tack left behind, you just tap it off like so. Right, that's all good. Make sure it's back in the frame. Right, so we've got our two 4148s, whatever they were, on board. There and there. We've got our two resistors, we've got our bridge key, bridge rectifier. So next it wants us to go 104 ceramic capacitors, so that's showing C3, C2. That says 104. So C2's over here, so they're 0.1 UF. Just pop that on, and then looking for the other one. There it is, it's over here. So I'll pop on there, bit of blue tack, get those on. Right, that's A2 on. Oh no, see if we can reflow that one. Not happy. fine. And it's on. Right, next. Solid, the red light emitting diode. We'll stick with those on this occasion. So D7, long leg being positive. Make sure that was D7. D7. I like the way it said next D light red emitting diode. Oh shit. Okay, desoldering tool. That thing. That one. Right, now we can redo it. There we go, that's one. And two. Do you want to go up, dog? One red light emitting diode. Right. Next, it wants to be a pain in the arse. So I have to slide this because it wants us to put in this wiring terminal. Now it says minus and plus on there, but I don't think it makes much difference to how this goes on because it can only go on with the terminals facing outward, obviously. I had a bigger block and blue tack than this. Must have lost some. So we'll just block that in place. Get that soldered on. Right, make sure that's in frame. So next is, right, okay, we're going with the voltmeter next. So it's not just a display panel, it's actually a voltmeter. Which doesn't want to let me in. Where are you, knifey? Very blunt knifey. Not that blunt. Right, so basically carefully without damaging them too much, straighten them out a bit, feed the wire through here and make a note of the dots on the screen because they'll go with your dots on your display. So, right, there we go. So we're finally there with that. We could trim those down to sit a bit closer to the board, but they have supplied us with screws and whatnot to bolt that down. So I'm going to guess that's these two. Right, I said this wasn't going to be easy. Right, where's my little... There we go. That's one on the top. Not you. proper. Peel it off. Right, so that's the display on the board. Next, solder the voltmeter wire on the back of the circuit board. Well, you don't need to guess what's wired to where, because we have white, black and red where it says it. So we can snip this down a bit. My favourite way of doing this is just with a butane lighter. Right, so obviously white is going to go onto the white. So we'll just bend these in such a way it's convenient. So we'll just solder the pads up. And that's the red one on. So that's our voltmeter connected. Fairly happy with that. Bolt it down. Next, solder the 10 UF electrolytic capacitors. Remember, these are polarity, so long leg positive. The grey shaded, the gold stripe rather, on the side of the cap goes with the shaded area. So we'll get those two in. That one's sat in there nicely. Again, stripey side, long leg. That one's loose. Some big pads on here, and because of the voltage I'm not being shy with the solder. It's handy, I've got this big fat stuff that I don't normally like. So that's the caps on. Right, tensiometer goes on next, so we'll do that. That's actually going on this side. I nearly got that wrong. So we will really tap that. That's it really. So we'll get that big we check it out of it. That can still be manipulated where you need it. Right, we've got a 680 UF electrolytic capacitor. Again, long leg, grey stripe. That goes in there. Making sure that camera was recording. Right, a bit close that wire. Should have put my fan on really. Right, oh. That one's done. That's right. Right, fix L317 onto the heat sink with M3 screws and weld it. Well, okay. So I'm guessing we take this probably, the MOSFET, and that's going to screw onto this heat shrink. And I'm going to guess it's going to be this fat little puppy here. Let's get the screw in first. Now we'll try and get that in the hole. Where's my little screwdriver gone? Is that it? Right, I think we're on our way then. Back it up enough to be able to move it. I'm guessing that's going to go in over here. So we need to get the MOSFET into those three squares, that pegs there, and then the heat shrink into those two. Yeah, well, that's all. Right, let's turn that over, see what we got in the camera. That's fine. Now we need more blue tack. We need reinforcements. Try and drop that in there to stop it moving forwards. Right, that should be better. So we'll solder those two anchor points on the heat shrink first, because that'll hold everything else in place. Take up wiring close together, things like that. You should be getting that bloody solder join like I did earlier. It's a pain in the arse. Short circuit, basically. Right, so they're all in. So now we just want to tighten that MOSFET onto that heat shrink. And we go. Heat shrink, heat sink, I think. I think it's plastic, you know, or very thin, rubbishy metal. Right. Next, insert the heat shrink tubing onto the red wire of the transformer and weld it to the power cord. Heat the heat shrink tubing and secure it in place. Right, so both of the reds go on the end of this cable, which we need to change the plug to the English one. They're horribly flipping thin wires, but they want to solder onto there and there. I reckon if I've got it not out and back, not handy, it's up there. Right, okay, I think I might call that a night for now and do the rest tomorrow. So, what we got? Oh, it's a brick. What have we got? We have our transformer and we're wired up here. I might throw some electrical tape around those just to be sure. This just needs to wire to the board, which is now looking like this. Our MOSFET is heat shrinked on. We've got our 2 resistors on. I have 6 diodes, sub-bridge rectifier, a couple of caps, LED. This is basically now a case of building up all of the case and hardware. I think we need to get crop clips to go on this. I think these are the blue thing we put on is our power output basically. So that could be a fun little transformer or power supply when I need it for the odd kit. So yeah, we'll I'll have these peeled. We'll change that plug tomorrow and we'll put all this together. Piece of swarf just stabbed me in the ass. Well, ironically, I just found the other bit of missing heat shrink, but there you go. I will put a bit of tape over them just to make sure. We need to solder in these 2 blue wires now. And I'm wondering whether they'll just stay sat because they've got a bit of springiness to them. Out of my arse. Right, so I reckon they'll stay put. There we go. It's on properly that time. What's in camera? Yeah, it's good enough. Right, so that's the. I've also, you'll notice, already put the little brass. They're screwed in one end and the thread in the other. Just basically screwed the nylon posts on, just to save some time. I mean, it's not rocket science, I'm sure everyone can figure that one out themselves. So, next thing we'll have to do is, I've already peeled all of these, is start mounting this into the acrylic cases. So, I'm guessing this one's going to go on this case like that, except for it's going to go like that because the big transformer has got to go next to it, like so. So I'm just wondering, yeah, so screws are going to go through the other side. We'll screw down to these brass posts here, and then this will have nuts on this side and screw on the other. Simple enough. Let's get that in there like that. We'll worry about that one shortly. So yeah, I'll go and do those off camera and then we'll come back. Right, so these little screws here, these are the ones that we're gonna, this is the last one of these for the circuit board, so they've all screwed into the brass posts on the bottom of the circuit board. Give them all nice and tight. And then we use 2 more with 2 of the nuts to locate the transformer in there. hold all that together. We can try and screw that in. We can take our little long nose plier friends here. Take a firm hold of that. Tighten that one up. Now we should have enough ability to slide it. Oh, we wanted to. Okay, we'll loosen it up because we want to slide it up a bit. We can always come back to the tightening. So get our screw. If we slide it up a bit, we've got room now to get this one in. Now we can tighten them down. Right, so that's basically so far. Oh, bend the potentiometer. So that'll give us our voltage regulation. Basically, we're on the home straights. There we go. You can see it better. That is this wire here is going to be replaced with some speaker wire, which will be much more hardcore than that, and we can lengthen it. But basically, they'll screw into the output over here anyway. So the next step will be the case top going on. I'm thinking I probably should have done that before I soldered those together. Where's my snip? Let's see if we can squeeze it over. So the cable must go through the sides. Oh, I know what the hole's going to be for. The top one is going to be for screwdriver into the mounting blocks. So that'll go on like that. So we need an end one with a hole, which will be this one. It still seems a bit big. Right, so this one's going to go on the front. Come back to this. This one's going to go on the front because there's a hole for the potentiometer, which we just banged one out of the way. That better? You like that better? You do, you like it better that way, don't you? Right. So that should have a silly little washer. We can do this bit. Because this will hold this side in place. You can get the long noses back again. Just give that bit of a twist. That should be enough, I reckon. There's a bit of a tab on the inside, I don't know why. We'll just do it tight enough. I think that's tight enough, I reckon. That turns. So you can basically get the knob on now. A bit loose. That's better. That's okay. I like that. We might try and well, I might take that off and try and twist that bit of metal out, but it sits flat enough. So anyway, same camera, yeah. So that's the knob on. See, it gets a nice, the marker gets a nice rotation on there. It does look a bit wonky, but it's good enough. In fact, no, I'm going to take that off again. I'm not happy. Right, let's see what we've got now. Right, that'll do. I've got to get this right again. I had it nice before. Let's try that. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Right, so back plate. There, that's where the power goes. I know what this hole is. It all comes together. This hole is where you basically can't reach. Here we go. That's where you. This is offset, so if you put it in backwards, you can take it all apart. that side piece with the oval in it is for the power connectors here. So if you put it on backwards, as you can see, it's cock about face. So that one wants to go in this way. It's all coming together. This other end piece, no, this bottom plate here, the back one, has the notch in it for the power. So whether it goes up and down or whatever, yeah, that's that. So that one basically wants to go in here, like so. I should put the big camera back on for this. Right, so I'll put the other camera on again. All I need to do is I'll do the plug off camera. So it's basically tucking all these wires away somewhere, so we can finish putting this thing together. So they came over the top, they came out the bottom. But see, everything's falling apart now. The other end cap, and that sits on top of these, and these have also got like T-shapes on the sides, so the front and back plate have a bottom cut out, and they want to sit in the top like that. So that's quite nice at the moment. All we need to do now is get this top panel in, remembering we want the hole at this end for the screwdriver, and start trying to slide it all into. No, without it falling out. These are tricky little buggers, they always have been. Oh, that flipping blue wire's going to be out of the place now. What's not in? Oh, there we go, that's not playing ball. Oh, here we go. Right, try again. We can get a screwdriver to try and help things okay, like that. That one's down, that one's down, that one's down, that one's down. I think they're all home. So now we just need to pop screws in, try and get them to meet up with these posts, like so. We buggered the thread on that one, now too. There we are. Wonder where the other two posts went. Remember, once this is wired up, it's 240 volts going in. This is UK, 220, 240 volts going through here. So you don't want to be touching wires. May only be up to 12 coming out, and that's done. There we have it. So our up down voltage supply, this is basically on or off from the point where you plug it in. There will be a British plug on the end of this tomorrow. This is where you can get your screwdriver in to do up and undo your terminals for the sides. We've got this tiny bit of wire which isn't suitably long enough, so I'm going to use some thicker, for starters, speaker wire. I'm going to be using some of this, it's a bit thicker, and we'll just take a length of that, which is about, I don't know, 3 feet, and we'll wire that up as the test bench supply or whatever. So I'll do that, and basically when we come back this will be ready to plug in and test. I won't plug it in before, but it's going to let out the magic smoke. We'll do it together. I don't like these acrylic kits, especially in something this, but it could become a useful thing. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, okay, so here we have the finished product. You might not notice, I'm going to stand up to look at the camera. You might not notice, but I have raised the voltmeter part up on to 1-inch brass even plinths, just to raise it up a bit. I had the room, I had the spares, so I thought let's take it apart and raise it up. So we'll flick the power on, so there is no on-off switch on this, it's literally on the plug. So that's at its lowest setting, 1.24 volts. We'll switch the voltmeter on and we're reading 1.24 volts. So this will get further and further out of sync. So let's give it a bit, 336, we got 341, 340, 6.15, 6.22, 9.92, 10.04, 05, 11.4, 11.57, 12.4, 12.6. This should only go up to 12-ish volts, but it will hit 16 without a load. And you might notice that the LED gets brighter as we power up. So 14 volts on here is giving 14.2223 over there. Let's go to the top. 16.9 volts gives us 17.16. So it's about, what's that, 0.2 of a volt out at worst, 0.25. Let's drop it down a bit. Right, 16.8 is 1707. 16 dead is 16.22. So worst case it's about 0.22 out, and if we drop it back down to the low end, that's 2.94. I'm trying to read this upside down, and we've got 2.97, so it's not too bad down in the low voltages. Let's get it up to about 5. Right, 5.05, 5.11. So that's not even a 20, well, it's about a 20th of a volt. So it's pretty good, just not bang on. But as I said, if we get it right down, you can watch the LED go uber bright and dims out again. In fact, it goes off. So the LED comes on at about 1.6, 1.5, 1.6, it starts flickering, and then 12-ish, it's almost at full brightness. But 15 is getting up to full brightness. So that's the little power regulator we've built. I'm not uber happy with this flex. I mean, there is some really tiny wire in there. In fact, you can see there just how small that cable is. The gauge of it is minuscule. But that's taking in 220 volt, it's pushing out 12 volt, and it goes up to 16 on here. Now I think if we change R2, we can actually increase this. This power regulator MOSFET jobby is supposed to be regulated up to 1.24 to 37 volts. So I reckon if we change that R2, I think it's 100, 1k, 10k, so I don't know, I can't remember, I'd have to have a look. If we change that for a double, I reckon we could get this up to about 30, 34 volts, but we're not going to. It's fine as it is. I doubt that will stay almost 17 volts without a load on it, or with a load on it rather. I haven't really got anything to wire it up to at the moment. But yeah, it could come in as a handy little bench supply in emergencies until I get a proper one. I've crop clipped onto here, so there's really no danger. I'm not going to try touching these to see what happens, short anything out. Let's not mess about. So we'll flick the power off. Down she goes. Everything's powered down basically. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Comment and share. Shut up. No jumping.